How's it going, everybody? It's me, Cloudy, your favorite Korean immersion learner on YouTube. And I am coming to you with my 9th month update after using immersion methods to learn Korean for 9 months now. So, how are things going? Things are going really well. I'm learning Korean, so that's good. It's this month was actually a really good month for me, and part of the part of the reason I will say right off the bat, I stopped streaming on Twitch, and really that gave me a lot of extra time, just because it takes some energy and some time, and it's never as much of since I'm working at least 8 hours on my work days, and now I've only been having one day off, using that day to get in gear and get a stream going and think of content and have the energy to be there and everything. That was not very conducive to my learning. So this month I actually pretty much just stopped. Maybe I'll pick up streaming again in the future. Right now it doesn't work out with my schedule, and the whole reason I was learning was so that I bring people on my Korean learning journey. But if I'm not learning Korean, there's no journey to bring people on. So I felt like I needed to take that time to really put it into my studies and my immersion. So with that out of the way, one of the biggest reasons why why this month has been good is because of the focus on reading that I had. And it's if I had to guess, I don't track exactly the amount of reading that I do, and the quality of reading has always been different. But I would guess that I've read more this last month than maybe in all my previous 8 months of learning. It really is a lot. Part of that is Olly Richard's book. I started reading that. It's a Korean learning book, and it's got a bunch of short stories in it, and they are written really well for learners in order to just get you used to the average vocab that you'll find, the common vocab, a lot of the common grammar. And I read that mostly extensively, so which means that I'm not really stopping to break down every single word that I don't know. But what happens is with a book like that, it's so easy. He writes everything really well to use context to be able to gather what a word is about. And so I read through a chapter once and read through it again, maybe an hour later or later in the day. And that's been really good for improving my vocabulary comprehension just naturally through reading. And then once I've read through it a couple of times, I'll go back and check out some of the words that I wanted to look at and see the context that they pop up in and everything. That's been really great. Another thing that happened was my increase in the amount of Webtoons that I'm reading as well. So I was talking with Katrina a little bit and a couple of other people about the different approaches to reading, because you have basically intensive and extensive, or I always say intensive and free flow to make the distinction. And intensive would be finding a sentence or a paragraph, reading through it, and then going through and making sure I analyze the relationships between all of the words, all of the grammar, all of the conjugations, looking up everything, and trying to hit a full comprehension of everything as I go along. It's useful, but it has its limitations, because you never get the experience of reading through something and trying to gather it up as you go. And that does require some practice. But before I had done almost all of my reading mostly intensively, looking up just about everything that I come across, looking up every conjugation, and it makes reading pretty tough. But having some easier learning stuff like Olly Richard's stuff, and then some Webtoons that I've been reading, it's made that a lot easier. So right now, I've this last month I've been more for the second half of the month, I've been focusing on choosing two pieces of media, two webtoons, one to read intensively, where I want to reach a high level of comprehension with that webtoon as I go through it, and the other one is extensive, like free flow, and I just go through and enjoy it, and I try to recognize what I do and or what I read, and if I go through, I may look up some words if I'm interested. If you feel that interest, like what are they saying, that's a good sign, and that means that you're going to be more receptive to whatever you're reading. In my opinion, like if you get into that moment where you're thinking about the story, what's happening in the story, and you feel a little bit engrossed in it, you lose yourself a little bit. You enter into a little bit of a state of flow, and then when you look up words, when you are really keen on figuring out the meaning, that's you're in a ripe state for acquisition to happen, and for yourself to remember it. You have a little bit of emotion attached to the memory of the word because of the story that you're reading it in. So anyway, most of the one webtoon is free flow. So the name of that one is 바른연애 길잡이, I think, and it's a webtoon about this girl who joins a programming club to make video games. It's really cute. I listened to the audio drama version first, and I was kind of lost part of the way through it, because I thought like what, are I kept thinking, are the characters getting lost inside a game world or something? But it turns out that the way the story is written, they use the game worlds as a storytelling device to kind of play out some of the dramatic elements between characters. It's interesting. It's fun. It's just engaging enough, and it's at an easy enough level, so that I can read it free flow and just try to enjoy the story. Try to pick up things through context in the pictures, and then the other one that I'm reading intensively, where I'm picking it apart and trying to reach a good understanding and trying to learn some grammar stuff, is 걸어서 30분, and that one is like about these two shy high schoolers, and I think I've mentioned it before. That's a good webtoon. It's one of the easier ones that I've read. One of the easier good ones that I've read. I've read some bad ones. I started some pretty bad ones and finished some really short ones that are like just really poorly written, which means it's easy to go through, but it's not very compelling. So having something that's somewhat compelling is much more useful for acquisition. You make more progress if you're compelled to want to know what's going on in it. So that's an important tip to always come back to and remember. Like, yes, this is easy, but do I like it? There is some benefit to going through stuff that's not fun, but don't spend too much time on stuff that isn't fun. Like the Yonsei readers, don't spend the rest of your life trying to like perfect your understanding of them. They are a ramp to get you into stuff that's fun. That's what they're used for. So yeah, that's been my webtoon thing. I really like that, separating it into different webtoons. The easier webtoon I'm actually reading intensively because there's a little bit less. It's closer to my natural understanding and ability. So I'm getting a more thorough, complete, and concrete understanding of it. And the other one is a little bit higher level language, but I'm just using that to gain a lot of exposure to all of the elements of the grammar, all of the vocab, and seeing it in context and styles of speaking. I find that balance, even though I didn't decide to do it like that, it works. So, yeah, the webtoons are good. Anki, I haven't really been doing a lot of Anki. I think I've been doing so much reading. I've been really focusing on trying to solidify some of the understanding that I have through all of this reading. And I'm learning words even without putting them into Anki. Anki is not required. I think everyone knows that, but it does help as a supplement. But I'm basically... I sometimes I do 4 or 5 words. Sometimes I do no words, And so this has been a really slow month for Anki. And that's fine. I've been planning on eventually kicking that back up. I want to work up to committing to 10 sentences a day. But I've been so focused on like just solidifying my everything that I come across as I understand it, and understanding it as I come across it, that it's not important to me at the moment to do Anki. And I'm also out of the habit of finding 1T sentences and juicy 1T sentences. Most of the time I just like understand the word and go, oh, neat, I get that. But yeah, I want to get into a better habit of doing that soon, probably within the next couple of weeks. Just ramp it up again and start doing 10 sentence cards a day and make it a for sure habit. My understanding is good enough that I think that should be fine. It should be easy. Okay, I'm checking out my list here. Another thing is I've been doing some grammar reading again. After working all the way through Talk to Me in Korean and then all the way through Korean Grammar in Use, Beginner, and Intermediate, I gave it a bit of a break and just focused on Googling things as they came up. But there was a bit of lack. Like I never stopped learning over these times, but my focus just kind of moved from different areas, of understanding, because I've taken the approach of creating a low resolution picture of the language in my mind, just kind of piecing together a vague outline, and then going back in with polish passes and getting a better understanding in time. That's the approach I've taken from the start, and I've found that it's been really helpful. So my progress is kind of vaguely scattered around everything, but now it's at the time where there's things where I really want to get a solid understanding of. So I came back to grammar reading, but since I had done Talk to Me in Korean and Korean Grammar in Use, this time I started with How to Study Korean. And it's been really kind of fun because my understanding of everything and my exposure to it through immersion is such that when I read these descriptions of how things are in Korean, in How to Study Korean, now it's not a vague concept. It's him describing stuff that I already know, that I've realized, or that I'm familiar with, or that I've seen. So just getting a firm understanding of that. That has been really nice, and I'm starting from the beginning and just going through it, reading a lot of the example sentences and things to make sure that I get exposure to it. I try not to do it too much per day, maybe half hour the past week or so. But this has been, it's been good. I'm excited to keep going through it because I think I'm at a spot where some of my lack of grammar understanding is holding me back. And so coming back for another polish pass through this is good. So that's grammar. And I continue to look up grammar conjugations or verb conjugations or things like that. But the How to Study Korean is also helping my understanding of the reasons for choosing word order and stuff like that, which I've always just taken comprehending meaning through the sentence of different words and going, okay, I have a good enough comprehension of that. And then sometimes I do know, like I do have a firm grasp of a lot of the grammar, but there's still a lot of it that's not clear to me. So it's time for me to clear that up. And I'm ready for it. Because now I'm, to move on to some more reading stuff, I'm moving on to the Yonsei reader, the Yonsei reading 3. And it's probably the most enjoyable so far. I mean, it wouldn't have been enjoyable if I started with 3, but now that I've worked up to 3 and done a bunch of other reading, it has if the language flows better in the third reading textbook, uses more language that feels closer to real language. It's still simplified. It's clear to me it's simplified, but now that there's now that it's using a lot more free flowing language and reusing other stuff and just trying to get more volume in. The volume is helping. The passages are like twice as long as the book too. It's providing more context. It's making it easier to pick up the language. It's just funny how that works. Much longer sentences and more information, but it's easier to pick things up because of the surrounding context. So that's good. I'm going to continue with that. Not super focused on it, but I also got some graded readers in the mail. Finally, I ordered them in like December, early December. I think December 8th is when I ordered these. I found them on eBay, and they are Western classics, but they're graded readers for Koreans. And I've seen some floating around some servers that were simplified for, I want to say, like third graders. It's a series that is Western classics, but they are very simplified. And the ones I have are a little bit more complex, and I'm actually really happy about that. I think it's more interesting. I read some samples of the simpler ones, and I think if I were only a couple of months in or 3 months in, those would be great for me to start. But because I'm not, I read through some of them and I thought this is just too simple to the point of being boring for me. So the ones I got are for a couple of grades older than that, maybe fifth graders. That is something I'm excited to get to. After I finish Olly's book, I'm going to jump into some of these readers. I have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, about 6 of them. So I have Robinson Crusoe, Romeo and Juliet, Animal Farm, Jane Eyre, and a couple of others. So that's going to be good. I'm excited to get into those. This video is starting to get a little bit long, so I'm going to try to finish up more. So I want to finish Olly's book, and I want to finish some of these webtoons, and I want to get into the lost my train of thought. What did I want to get into? I don't know. I want to get into some more webtoons and get back into watching some long form dramas. I've spent so much time watching these web dramas and watching them at work, and then watching YouTube and variety shows and stuff like that. That I haven't, like, my video input has been really broad because I'm spending more time reading than I am watching videos. So I'm not giving the full time to watch these long-term dramas. So I'm about 8 episodes into, or is it 6? 6 episodes into, like, what's the drama? It's a newer one, where there's like a girl who's like really ugly, and she learns how to do makeup, and everybody thinks she's beautiful, but she's got like this secret double life where she's ugly, and then one where she's pretty wearing makeup. I don't know. It's super dumb, but it's compelling enough that like I want to know what happens next. I'm ready. I'm ready to get over a hump, I would say. Like, my understanding, I keep realizing that my understanding is better than I thought it was. Like, I was listening to the condensed audio of a web drama that I watched from like early on, one of the first ones, and I was listening to it at work, and I was thinking about, okay, how much of this do I really know? And I was listening to it for 10 minutes at a time, knowing every single word. And then I would come up across a couple of words that I thought, oh, I actually don't know that one. So if that's an indication of the kind of progress that I've made, I guess that I'm grateful that I can see that I have made pretty good progress. And the fact that reading is so much easier for me, and I can get through all these stuff, and I can understand everything that's going on in the stories, aside from a couple of, words here and there. It's a very simplified story. It's easy, but like, just that I can breeze through it. It's kind kind of a confidence boost. So yeah, this is long enough now, 20 minutes in. So I'm going to wrap things up. Oh, actually, before I stop, I want to mention one more thing. I've wanted to get back into the habit of meditation, and it's something that I've done on and off over the years. But I always feel like my overall wellness is improved, and my ability to focus, my ability to go to sleep and have quality sleep, my ability to stay on task and structure my day better, and the way I feel, and all of these little things, if I have a solid meditation habit, are great. But it's tough when I feel like I don't have a lot of time as it is, and it can be I don't know, not seem very fun to like want to just go and sit down for 10, 15, 20 minutes and not do anything, like in silence. Even though that's like, it reverberates out into everything else in my life. Like it really is one of those things. However, I had the idea to listen to a guided meditation in Korean, and it kind of blew my mind. First of all, sitting down in a meditative posture and listening to something, my mind is very alert during that time, because it's just trained to be like very focused and alert. And if I know that it's time to pay attention during those moments. And so listening to a guided meditation, I was listening to it, and I'd never listened to, I'd never read anything about meditation in Korean or learned any of the words, but I was able to follow along with pretty much the whole thing, including a lot of words that I didn't know before, but I knew as they came up. I understood what they meant, and I was really surprised about that. I think I'm really at a point now where I'm picking up things through context more than before, and this is just another case of that. That's just, I jumped into a new realm of something that I didn't know a lot of the words for. But I was just surprised. But anyway, looking up guided meditation in my target language in Korean gave me permission, in a sense, to waste the time. Even though even though it's not a waste of time, I know it's not a waste of time. It just feels like it's difficult to want to do it. But I made it a double tasking thing. Like, okay, I'm going to meditate and I'm going to immerse at the same time. I'm going to listen to a guided meditation so I can learn all of that and learn new words while also focusing on my breathing and the presence of my body and everything. So that was really really insightful, and hopefully bodes well for my meditation habit going forward in the near future. The weather's getting pretty good out, and the sun's it's getting better anyway, and the sun's starting to go down much later, so that I have more time in the evening. So hopefully I can get some jogging in after work, so I don't have to run in the dark, in the cold, in the snow. I think the spring is turning out to be pretty good for my language learning and my overall, to me this is all like part of the same thing. Meditation, exercise, and language learning. It's all connected. It's like the same. It's about my goal of self-improvement and like getting good at something and like improving myself, which is what all of this is ultimately about. So anyway, this was a little bit rambly. Sorry for that. I know some of you guys like it short and snappy. Some of you guys don't mind a little bit of extra info, but I want to thank everyone for listening and keeping updated with where I'm at. I'm looking forward to the next update to see how things are going then. But yeah, this has been my 9 months. If you want to see more updates and you're not already subscribed, hit that subscribe button and leave a like, so that other people who are learning, it really helps other people who are learning Korean through immersion or who are interested in it to find my channel, and then bring them into like the whole Korean learning community for immersion learners. So I think that does help. Until next time, I will see you guys around.